Good morning, children. Today we are going to discuss about another interesting chapter, that is light. So in physics, certain topics like sound, light, they are very interesting parts. They will help us to understand the physical world in a better way with so many activities and experiments. You see that the chapter sound, there we have seen so many activities by which we can understand the physical properties of sound. In the same way, even the light, it's a natural phenomenon. But there is a lot of physics. There are so many laws. So by studying these laws, we can understand the physical properties of light. Because light is very useful. There are so many n number of applications with light. So light is a natural phenomenon which helps us to sense the world. We sense the world, we look at the world, we hear the world. Here we look at the world, we visualize everything because of the light. We are able to see different objects. We are able to see an object. If you should be able to see an object, that object, it should glow itself or it should be glown by some other object. See, for example, you are looking at this ball. This ball must emit light on its own, or from some other source, the light must be falling on this object. A body should be self-illuminating, or it should be illuminated by something else, some other source of light. Then only you can see this object. But somehow the object must have light, either on its own or lightened by something else. Then only you can see. In a dark room, you cannot see anything, because in a dark room, for example, in your room, in your study room, you have your study table, you have your chair, your study lamp, your books, your pen stand, everything you have. But when there is no light, in the night time, if there is power off, you cannot see anything. But all the objects are there, but you can't see them. When the power comes, the light on, you can see all the objects. Right? So what does it mean? So here is the light. So when the light is on, you can see all the objects. When the light is off, you cannot see. Objects are there. When the light is on, from the light bulb, the light, it hits the objects. So the objects are reflecting the light to your eyes, so you can see the object. Right? So here the vision is based upon one thing, reflection of light. If objects are not able to reflect a light, you cannot see that object. Right? If the object is not able to reflect, you cannot see the object. So your vision, the visibility, is totally dependent upon the property reflection of light. So in this chapter, the first thing we are going to study is that laws of reflection. So we understood that reflection is very important, reflection of light. So by that we can see the objects. There are certain laws connected to this reflection. So by that we can better understand the properties of reflection, how the reflection is affected. So let us see what are these laws of reflection. So let us see the laws of reflection. Before we see what are the technical terms involved in this, let us start this with an activity. So by that we can easily understand. So to do this activity, what you need is a strip of mirror, one strip of mirror. So mirror, you know what is a mirror? A piece of glass coated on one side, so by that you can see your reflection. The mirror that you use to see your face, comb your hair, use in your washroom, that is a strip of mirror. And you need a comb, the one which you use to comb your hair, and a torch and a black paper. And to keep all these things on a chart. So here is the chart. I placed the chart here, and this is the strip of mirror. I have taken a slide of mirror. You can call it as a slide of mirror. A mirror slide you can take. And here you have taken a comb which is used to brush your hair. such a comb we have taken, and the source of light we have taken a torchlight. So this is the way how we have to arrange. See that the mirror slide is standing, not okay. So you can keep it stand with the help of some rubber cork or wooden block. See that this is standing. Now here, place a comb and cover the comb with the help of a black paper or black chart. So everything is covered except the distance or the difference between two teeth. Your comb will be having teeth. So you have to leave only the gap between two teeth. This gap. So this is the gap between this teeth and that teeth. The rest all should be covered with black paper. So you are making a slit, what it is called as slit. A narrow passage through which the light enters. A narrow passage. You are covering the rest. So by that, if you place a torch here, the light, it goes to the other side only through the slit, not from all the teeth. So all the teeth are being covered. So now you are placing the torch here. So by that, the light, it passes through the slit. So now we have placed the torch here and the comb is covered with black paper except a small slit. So the light, whatever we are focusing through this torch, the light enters through the slit and it hits the mirror. Now from the mirror, the light is reflected. You see a picture like this, right? So from the torch, we are focusing the light. We are allowing the ray of light. In general terms, we are using the term ray, but it is not a single ray. It is a beam, but it is a very small beam of light. So this beam of light, it goes and hits the mirror and it makes a reflection. This is the reflection. You can see the reflection on the chart. You placed a white chart. The white chart is placed on a table on this flat surface. It should not have ups and downs. Even. So on the even surface, you placed a chart. There you kept a mirror. There you kept a comb where it is completely covered except one slit. And here you placed a torchlight through which you focused the source of light. So the light ray, that means a small beam of light, it goes through the slit and hits the mirror. It makes a reflection. So the ray that is coming from the source and hitting the mirror, this is called as incident ray. So this is the incident ray. So here one more light ray you see on the chart, which is formed because of the reflection. This is called reflected ray. But actually you see that here we are using the term ray, but this is not a single ray. The single ray of light is very thin. This is just a beam of light. For our convenience to understand, we are using the term ray, reflected ray. So incident ray, reflected ray. You see this. So now what you're going to do, you take your friend's help. You keep the setup like this and you ask your friend to draw some lines here. Draw a line parallel to the mirror. Now you draw a line on the reflected ray. Now you draw a line on the incident ray. Now you remove this apparatus, this comb, this torch and this mirror. So this is the drawing you made, and after that you removed all the apparatus. So this is the line which we have drawn parallel to the mirror, and this is the light. This is the ray of incidence. This is the incident ray. From the source of light, the ray travels here, it hits the mirror and reflected here. This is the reflected ray. Now, with the help of a set square, take like a set square like this. Now you draw a line which is making 90 degrees with the mirror. The surface of reflection here, this is the mirror. So here you see that at 90 degrees you draw a line. So this line is called as normal. This line is called as normal. The angle between the normal and incident ray, angle I, is angle of incidence. So the angle between the incident ray and the normal is angle of incidence. The angle between the normal and reflected ray, angle R is angle of reflection. With the help of a protractor, just you measure what is the angle of incidence and angle of reflection here. And you do the experiment number of times, some 4 to 5 times, just by adjusting the source of light to different positions. Always you check that whether this angle of incidence and angle of reflection both are varying or always remain same. When the source of light and the reflection and reflected ray, incident ray, everything on the same plane, then you will have that the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. You will always find that the angle of incidence is equal to angle of reflection. So this is one of the law of reflection. So now let us look at the one more property or one more law of reflection. So we have taken the same setup like this. We have taken a mirror, and here is a comb which is covered to have a slit to let the light source to go through the slit as a ray of incidence. We have taken a chart, but here the difference from the previous experiment is that the chart is a bit towards the edge of the table. This is the edge of the table. So we dragged the chart crossing the edge of the table. So here we have a flexibility, like we can bend the chart down the table. So in this way you have allowed the light to pass through. So here we have incident ray again. Now what we are doing is, with the scissors we are cutting the paper till here. You cut the chart. Now you are bending the chart down. You are lowering the chart. So here the chart is in the same plane. The chart, the source of light, the incident ray, mirror and reflected ray are when are on the same plane. You could see the reflected ray. But when you lower the chart, then you cannot see the reflected ray. When you lower the chart, you can't see the reflected ray. So what do you understand? Here we understand that the normal and the incident ray and the reflected ray, they lie on the same plane. They lie on the same plane. So if you lower the plane, you can't see the reflected ray. So this is the another law of reflection. So now let us see the reflection, the regular and diffused reflection. We know the reflection, the laws of reflection. So the angle of incidence will be equal to the angle of reflection. So it depends upon the surface. If the incidence is on a plane surface, regular surface, then the angle of reflection and angle of incidence will be equal. But if the incidence takes place on an irregular surface, then what happens? Just imagine some parallel rays are incident on an irregular surface, some parallel rays. Here the rays are parallel. Just imagine there are the parallel rays. You see, this way the rays are hitting. So now let us see the point of incidence here. These are the parallel incident rays. So they are hitting an irregular surface, right? So now let us see just how the reflected rays will be. Like this. So the rays of incidence will be in this direction, and now let us see the reflection. This direction. So as it is hitting here, this direction and this direction, right? So this direction So now see this. Here we see the reflections are different here because of the irregular surface. So you may think that the law of reflection fails here, but it doesn't fail. Here, why it is happening, why you see the reflections different directions? It is because of the irregularity in the surface. So if it is a smooth surface like a mirror, you see that the angle of reflection, the reflected rays are also parallel. But they are not parallel here, the reflected rays, because the surface is irregular. What is the example for an irregular surface, reflecting surface? Some aluminum foil you see. In some cases, they use aluminum foil as a reflector in film shootings and all. So they may use a thermocol as the reflector. So it will diffuse the light in different directions, distort. So you see that here this is an irregular surface. Just you can think like an aluminum foil having irregular surfaces. So here the reflections, the reflected rays are not parallel as like the incident ray because of the irregular surface. If it is a regular surface, if some parallel rays incident on a surface, what happens? If you see, if the surface is a regular surface, so these are the parallel rays which incident on a surface. So the incident rays are parallel. You see the reflected rays are also parallel to each other. The reflected rays are also parallel to each other and it satisfies the law of reflection. It depends upon the surface, regular surface and irregular. So regular and diffused reflection. So here it is diffused reflection, here it is regular reflection. Sometimes we need a diffused reflection. I told you that in case of film shoot or photo shoot, they use some reflectors, so that the reflection should not fall on the face, it should give some diffused light. So for that they use different materials. For this different materials which have this irregular surface. So the irregular surface, it will give a diffused reflection. So now let us see the another property of light, that is the reflected light can be reflected again and again and again. So the reflections can be multiple on basing, depending upon the position of the mirrors fixed there, you can form multiple images, multiple reflections. So let us understand this with some activities, and there are certain commercial uses also with this. You might have heard about periscopes and kaleidoscopes. Periscopes, they are used to see certain objects which are far higher than us. Say for example, see, if you are in a submarine, you could see what is there on the surface. Where is the ship here? Here is a ship. You could see this ship when you are in submarine with the help of a periscope. A periscope, it will be having this kind of arrangement. From here, you can see what is there on the surface. So here, there is one mirror fixed here, one mirror fixed here. So whatever the picture is here, it is reflected by this mirror onto this mirror to your eye. So in this way, by forming multiple reflections, you can make certain tools, equipment like periscope. See the periscope, it will be like this. So your eye is at this point, this is your eye. So here is the object. The object's reflection falls on the mirror like this and the ray is reflected. So this is the ray of incidence, ray is reflected. So the reflected ray is again falls on a mirror, again it is reflected. Now you see. So multiple reflections. So these multiple reflections help you to see the object. Actually this is your plane, right? So this is the another plane. So you can see the object in another plane with the help of a periscope. With the help of a periscope. So in the same way, when you go to a haircut, the hairdresser, after cutting your hair, you may be seeing your face on the mirror, the front part you can see. He will place one mirror at your back. See that if you are here, so you have a hairstyle and you see your hairstyle in the mirror which is in front of you. You can see your reflection. So the front side you can see. But how is it your back? He will place one more mirror at your back. So the back part, it will incident on the mirror and it will reflect in the front mirror. So in the front mirror again, you can see how is your back. So this is how the multiple images help you. So how many number of images are forming? It depends upon the angle between the mirrors. Let us see. So now you have taken one chart, and on this chart you kept two slabs of mirror, so at a right angle. So this is one mirror, this is one mirror, this is the surface of the mirror, this is the surface of the mirror. These two mirrors here you have attached with a cello tape, right? So now two mirrors. If you place a coin here, how many images you will see? If this is the case, you will see 4 images. You will see 4 images. Now you change this angle to here. Reduce the angle. You keep the mirror at different angles. See how many images you will be able to see. How many images of this particular coin you will be able to see. When you are reducing the angle, you will see more number of images. When you are increasing the angles, you will see less number of images. In the same way, here, you place one mirror here, one mirror here. So which are exactly opposite each other, then place a candle. So how many images of candle you see? Two mirrors are placed once opposite to the other, exactly, on the same plane. Then you will see multiple images of the candle, n number of images you see, right? So when the angle is 0, when they are on the same plane, then you see multiple images, right? Multiple reflections. So with this multiple reflections, we can make a toy called as kaleidoscope. Have you ever seen a kaleidoscope? It's a beautiful toy which forms so many patterns. It is totally based on reflections, reflection of light. Let us see how to make a kaleidoscope. So children, we have seen the laws of reflection. So when the reflection takes place in the mirror, when two mirrors are placed opposite to each other, then we have seen that n number of images are formed. So on basing this, we are going to make a toy, a fun toy, which is based on these multiple images, multiple reflections. So the toy name is kaleidoscope. You might have played with this toy. This is a toy in which you can see different kinds of patterns in different colors. So that is the kaleidoscope. Now let us see how to make this kaleidoscope and what are the different things you need to make a kaleidoscope. The first and important thing you need to make a kaleidoscope is a mirror slabs of 15 centimeter into 4 centimeter. Mirror, not a glass. Mirror, you know what is a mirror? A mirror will be having one reflecting surface, the other side it is painted. That is a mirror. The mirror will have a reflective surface on one side. So such kind of mirrors, how many you need? Into 3. So now take these 3 mirror slabs and fix them with the help of a cello tape in the shown manner, like a triangular pipe. Say this is mirror 1. This surface is painted. Underneath that, reflected surface. Reflected surface is towards the inner side. This is mirror 2. Third one at the bottom, mirror 3. So this is the reflective surface. So all the reflective surfaces of the mirror are inside this pipe. This triangular pipe what you made out of 3 mirrors. Both the ends of this triangular pipe are open. Both the sides, this side and this side. What you are going to do this side? take a triangular piece of cardboard. Take a triangular piece of cardboard. See that this cardboard exactly fits this triangle. So the cardboard has got a small hole and this cardboard is fixed here. Now see, your kaleidoscope is having 3 mirror slabs which is having a reflected surface to inside. Now this pipe, the other end of the pipe is closed with a cardboard. Now this is open, the other side is closed. Now what you will do? You need to have small pieces of broken bangles. Broken bangles. Bangles. So what bangles? These are glass bangles, not of metal. Glass bangle pieces which are in different colors. Otherwise you can take very small different colored beads. You can take beads, right? You can take certain stones which are used in jewelry, or beads you can take, or this kind of glass beads you can take, glass pieces you can take. Now put them here inside in this tube, right? So you have placed them. Now the other end is free, open. There you take a triangular piece of plain glass, some glass, triangular piece. You take it, you keep it here. The other end is closed now. So on the glass you can wrap it with a plastic cover. With the plastic cover, once again you can keep the plastic cover which is transparent plastic cover you can keep, and you can fix with a sellotape. So everywhere you kept the sellotape. So the glass beads or the glass pieces are locked inside. Right. Now you make this upside down. So what happens here? So 3 mirrors. Here the glass pieces are there inside, and here is a small hole. You can see that with the help of the small hole, and see that for a caution, this side also you cover it with a plastic cover. So by that, no glass pieces or no beads fall into your eye through this hole. This hole is also covered by a transparent plastic cover. So now your kaleidoscope is safe. Now you can see this kaleidoscope against the light. So by that the light enters into the kaleidoscope. Whatever the glass pieces are there, see, if this is your view, you can see like a triangle here. So all the way you see multiple reflections here inside the kaleidoscope. If you keep some beads here, these reflections are fallen here like this. It will form a pattern. So this is your area of view, but in the opposite directions also you will find the reflections, number of reflections here inside. So it will form so many images of the beads, they form so many patterns, beautiful patterns. So many artists, those who are working in the creative field, creating designs for the clothing, jewelry and all, those designers, fashion designers, jewelry designers and all, they use these kind of equipment to get good ideas, creative ideas. Of course, now they are using softwares, computer generated graphics they are designing. In the earlier days, they used to use these kind of kaleidoscopes and all to make certain patterns, to get ideas. And it will be more fun to play with this kaleidoscope. So there you can see so many patterns are formed. Use different materials. Glass pieces you can use and beads you can use. So different kind of items. Better we take glass items, so by that they reflect the light. So the illumination will be very bright and colorful. So that is the way how to make a kaleidoscope. Take care while you are working with glass pieces, mirror slabs and all. There is chance of a small cut on your hands. So take care while making this, right? So properly fix with the sellotape and properly cover both the ends with plastic paper. That is for safety. So by that you can enjoy your kaleidoscope. And finally you can wrap your kaleidoscope in some designed paper, colored paper or some gift wrapping something. Then it will be more attractive. In this way you can make a kaleidoscope. So now let us see the sunlight. Already you know about the sunlight, you have studied in your lower classes that sunlight is a mixture of 7 colors. Sunlight is a mixture of 7 colors. So it is, as it appears white, but it is not white, it is a mixture of 7 colors. The 7 colors mixed together, they produce the bright light. So generally we refer it as a white, but it is not white, it is mixture of 7 colors. So how to know that, or how to see these 7 colors? Separating the 7 colors or viewing the separate 7 colors of a white light is called as dispersion. Dispersion. How can we disperse it? So to do so, you take a bowl with water, take a glass slab, see that take a mirror, not the glass slab, mirror, take a mirror and put the mirror in the water. So see that the half of the mirror is in water. Now you keep this setup where it is exposed to sunlight near a window where there is sun. So by that the sunlight falls. So as the sunlight falls here, the mirror, it reflects the light. See that the reflection falls on a white object, either any wall or any paper. So when the water is covering the mirror, the reflection from the mirror, which is in water, this reflection, it will disperse the colors, 7 colors you can see. This is how a rainbow is formed. Rainbow is seen when there is sunlight and rainfall in opposite directions. So the rainwater, it will reflect that and it will make the dispersion. So by that you can see the rainbow. In the same way here, the glass which is in the water, the mirror which is in the water is reflecting the light, and the light is dispersed and you can see the 7 colors. So this is called as dispersion of light. Now let us see what is inside our eyes. When we are talking about light, we discussed the phenomena by which we are able to see that. We are able to see the objects when the object is illuminated itself or by some other object. We are able to see the different things if the things they have light on their own or they are lighted by something else. Only then we are able to see. That means the light from the objects enter our eyes. So by that we can see the object. If the light from the object doesn't enter our eyes, you cannot see the object. But what is there in our eyes to recognize that? How our eyes receive the light and convert the light into information? Let us see. If you look at the structure of human eye, this is the structure of human eye. Our eyeball, it is like a spherical ball, more or less spherical in shape. The outer layers of the eye are very tough, so by that they will protect the inner parts from the accidents. So our eyes are protected by eyelids as well as by the eye sockets in our skull. So they are protected from physical shocks and injuries. Our eyes are always lubricated by lacrimal glands to produce certain secretions. So by that the eye is lubricated. So it avoids the friction between eyelid and eye. Now let us see what are the apparatus inside the eye are working. So this is the white eyeball. At the front part of the white eyeball, there is some portion which is transparent. The transparent part of the eye. So this particular part is transparent, the front side of your eyes where you have the black coloring. So that part is transparent. So the transparent part is called as cornea. It is transparent. So this is the transparent area through which the light enters your eye. Now here, what is there? The cornea, it is the transparent part which allows the light, and next to cornea, there is a circular shutter-like equipment. You know that if you see the camera lens, there will be a shutter inside, which will control the amount of light entering and into the camera. In the same way, whatever the light is coming into your eye, the light will be controlled by a part called as iris. Iris. If this is your eye, if this is your eye, so in your eye, you can see some color and some pattern here. So what is this? This one is iris. There is a center small hole in the sense it will allow the light to get inside. This iris will be leaving small portion to enter the light, that is called as pupil. The size of the pupil changes by the iris. The iris, it will reduce the pupil size and increase the pupil size. When it will reduce, when it will increase. Why? Why the iris reduce the size of pupil and increase the size of pupil? Right? So you are riding a bike or you are going in a car in the night time on the roads. So what happens if suddenly some car comes with a bright lighting, some truck comes. When the bright light falls on your eyes, if all the light enter your eyes, you can't see anything, only light you can see. You cannot see any other vehicle. So that time, your iris will make the pupil small. So less light enters. So by that, you can see the object. The vehicle has gone. Again, it will become everything dark. But after some time, you will be able to find the things. That is, again, the iris will make the pupil big. Say for example, when you are going to bed, you switch on the bed light and you will be having the tube light also. Till then you have studied. So your study completed, you are about to sleep. Then you switched on the bed light and switch off the main light. Immediately you find it very dark. Why? Because your pupil is small when you are in bright light. It will allow limited light. But when suddenly switch off the light, immediately what happens? Whatever the light is entering into your eye, it is not sufficient to see the things. Slowly, your pupil becomes big. That is the reason why, even though you have a bed light, you will feel it so dark. But after some 10 to 15 minutes, you see in the room, you can see everything. Right? The same bed light, the same amount of light. But after some time, you see that, you will be able to see the things. But immediately, when you switch on the main light, you can't see anything. The same thing happens when there is power cut. Immediately you can't find anything, everything will be dark. Means your pupil adjustment will take place by this iris slowly according to the lighting conditions. So when you are entering the bright light, the pupil will make the iris will make the pupil size small. When you are going to dark areas, then the pupil size is increased to allow more light into your eyes. So that is the iris. And the central allowance area through which the light enters is called as pupil. So behind this, there is a fluid filled part called as lens. This lens is similar to the lens we use in physics. Concave lens, convex lens. If you take a biconvex lens, just like a biconvex lens, here you have a lens. So when the light is entering your eye, this lens will focus the light onto your retina. It will focus the light onto your retina. So on your retina, the image is formed. The image of the object is formed. So whatever the image is formed on the retina, this part is called as retina. The retina is connected to optic nerves. These optic nerves, they will take the information and they carry it to the brain. So by that you can see the picture. So the lens will focus the object, the image, onto your retina. Your retina will be having two kind of cells. Retina will be having two kind of cells, rods, cones. Rods deal with bright light and cones deal with dim light or night light. These are the special cells of retina, right? So by which the identification of the objects takes place. So this is the structure of the eye. So the iris will be having certain color. If you look at the eyes of some person, the white eyeball will be white in, but the center colored part, some people will be having brown eyes, some people will be having black eyes, some people will be having green eyes or blue eyes, gray eyes. The color is because the color of the iris. Some people will have different colored iris. It is genetical, right? So in this way, they will be having different colored iris, so they will have different colored eyes. So this is how the apparatus of the eye functions and how the information about the picture is taken to the brain. So now let us look at, we have seen the structure and functioning of human eye. Now let us see certain interesting facts about human eye. So the human eye, it works on the principle like receiving light, and the light is focused onto some screen called retina inside the eye, and this image is transferred to the brain by the optic nerves. So there, the point at which, see that this is the retina, this is the retina, so where the image focuses here. The retina is connected to optic nerves. The point at which the retina is connected to optic nerve connected to retina. This particular point is called as blind spot. So at that point there is no vision. You cannot see the place at which the retina is connected to the optic nerve. That is called as blind spot. But as we are looking at some object with both of our eyes, so because of the coordination of the overlapping of the picture, you don't find any spot in your eyes. But there will be some area where there is no vision in your retina, the point at which it is connected to optic nerve. That is called as blind spot. So, blind spot. The second thing you see that whatever the image it falls on our retina, it will not vanish so quickly. It will take some time. Right? So what time it will take? It will take 1/16th second. 1/16th second time it will be there on our retina. Right? So this is the time, one image that stay on our retina. You are watching some images which are moving quickly. If they are moving so quickly, your eye cannot see. Your eye can see at a speed of 1/16th of a second. 1/16th of a second. If you make a second into 16 part, so how much time is there? That much time the image will remain on your retina. Right? So, on basing this, there are some wonderful things that we experience with our eyes. See what are they. Now, if you see the still images of a moving object, if you see them with a speed of less than 16 images per second, you feel like it is slowly, jaggily moving. If you see the still images of a moving object more than 16 per second, then you feel like the object is moving. Let us see. We go to movies. There in the movies, you sit in the chair and you watch at the screen. On the screen, some light is projected. From where the light comes? From the projector room. Inside the projector room, there will be a projector. There will be a projector like this projector. So in the projector, they will feed a reel. Reel is a strip, a continuous ribbon which is having still images of a moving body. Here there is a ball which is thrown up. A ball is going high, coming down. The ball is a moving object. So for this ball, they made some still images. In this still, the ball is at the bottom, little raised, totally up, little down, little down. Likewise, they will take a series of still images. All the still images, they are shown to us with some speed. In a movie theater, if they are showing the still images with a speed less than 1/16th of a second, you don't feel the ball is moving. You feel that ball is one position, second position, third position, fourth position. You feel like they are still images. But when they are run at a speed of more than 16 images per second, then you feel like the ball is really moving. So in movies, they will play 24 frames per second. 24 images, frames in the sense images. 24 frames per second. At this speed, you feel like it is moving. The movement of the object is natural. The person who is running or walking or doing acting or talking, you feel like really the person is moving. Actually, those are all a series of still images. There are collection of still images. Frames. How many frames per second? 24 frames. That is the reason why you see if something is related to movies, they use this term 24 frames. Because when 24 frames are played per second, then your eye is able to see the object is moving. So in such a way, the projectors and the movie taking techniques, construction, everything is done based on that reel. Anyway, this reel system is like getting like old. Now new digital technologies have come. The soft copies of the films are downloaded by the projectors and they're playing in the movie theaters. So nowadays we don't see these reels carried to the theaters to play the movie. The reels are not existing today. Directly the movie is downloaded into the projector, the digital copy is played. Of course, even it is a digital copy, if you open the digital copy in the software, there also you will get frames, 24 frames per second. Even though it is in the digital format, there also the technology, it comes like 24 frames. When you are making some movie for public telecast, that is in the movie theater, you have to make it, see that when you are shooting it, 24 frames per second are shot. So that is the connection here. So as we are talking about the capabilities of human eye, the next one is that the distance. So what is the minimum distance that is required to see an object clearly or to read an object, or read a paper or something? You need to have minimum 25 centimeters distance between the object and your eyes, so by that you can read it comfortably, you can observe it comfortably, right? What is the distance? 25 centimeters. So never try to read or watch anything much closer than 25 centimeter, much far, keeping something somewhere else at a very far distance and watching it, or just try to reading it. It will give some strain to your muscles of your eye, so by that it may lead to headaches and other problems. So try to avoid that. Sometimes some people with age, they get certain eye problems. That is, they may not be able to see the far objects clearly, but closer objects they can see better. Some people, the closer objects they can't see properly, they will be able to see only the far objects. These are the eye defects which are caused. In some cases, these are caused genetically. In some people, because of the lifestyle, these are caused, right? So proper care of eyes, proper rest to eyes is very important to keep them in condition for a long time without getting any problems. And one more eye problem is cataract. So what is this cataract? You might have heard this word with your grandparents, grandmother, grandfather. So why this cataract happens? I already told you the parts of the eye. Inside our eye, when the light enters into our eye, in that way there is a lens. Lens is a tissue filled with fluid. It is transparent. So by that light easily enters. Sometimes what happens in the transparent liquid, some kind of materials, some metabolic materials getting added. As they are becoming old, because of their age, certain substances are released into that liquid. The liquid, it becomes translucent. The transparent is very clear. Translucent is not clear. So light cannot properly enter the eye. So what happens? They get foggy images. The image becomes dull. It becomes very foggy. It is called as cataract. So this cataract, it can be treated. There are certain techniques to treat the cataract. In some cases, they will remove the natural lens and they will fix an artificial lens also. That is also possible. So with the help of the latest technologies, the cataract can be operated. So by that their vision can be made clear. So this is all about the eyes. The eye, the capability of the eye. The eye is able to see the moving still images of a moving picture at a speed of 1/16th second. That means our eye can see more than 16 images. If it sees more than 16 images per second, then it feels it is moving. If it sees less than 16 images per second, it feels like they are still images. So that is the capability. So when you wanted to show something is really moving, if you are flipping a book, if your friend, you should feel that the pages are just continuously moving, then it should be having a speed of more than 16 per second. Right? Sometimes you will make some flip books. In the flip books, you will make drawings and you will play the flip book, like playing cricket or throwing some ball. It should be having more than 16 frames or 16 images per second, more than 16. Then you feel it like it is a moving object. And the other thing, our eye, it needs to have some distance between the object and the eye for a clear vision, even for reading and other things. So that is 25 centimeters. And the other eye problems, distance problems, far-sightedness, near-sightedness. Right? So closer objects cannot see properly, and sometimes some people, far objects cannot see properly. These are the eye problems, and cataract is the other problem. So I told you that when you are talking about eye problems, to keep your eyes away from problems, then you need to take proper care. What care has to be taken? The eyes are to be properly washed with cold water. You should not rub your eyes. If needed, use spectacles. When you are going for outing, you are going for a dusty place, then better wear safety goggles. If you are going into a laboratory where harmful fumes may come, or if you have gone for a factory visit or some other industrial area visit, better have a goggles. Any dust particles, coal particles, any chemical fumes, dangerous gases, dangerous liquids, polluted water may spill on your eyes. So to protect that, wear some goggles which give protection. When you are in chemistry lab, wear safety goggles. So by that, when you mix some acids or something, dangerous gases may be released and they may affect your eyes. So wear safety goggles. And if you are having any eye problems, then consult the doctor and wear the suitable glasses. So when something falls in the eye, get it properly treated. Wash it with cold water. Rinse it with cold water. Do not put your hands in your eyes. Sometimes you may be playing with certain things like colors, some bubble liquid, some detergents. So all these things you play with some certain paints which you will make paint and crayons, whatever. So the stuff you use for your drawing, painting and all, if you keep the fingers in your hands, this stuff may cause irritation. So when there is irritation, wash your eyes with running tap water. Suddenly something falls on your eyes, wash your eyes with running tap water. Then consult a doctor. So when there is irritation or dryness or wateriness in your eyes, consult a doctor. So by that you can put some eye drops to get relieved. In this way, when something happens to the eyes, you should get the idea the eyes are very important organs as well as delicate organs. So you need to take proper care, consult your parents. Just tell them what happened, or you may consult a doctor. So by that you can get proper treatment to protect your eyes. So we have discussed about the eye care. Once again, just look at a glance the total picture of this eye care. So eye care, it involves one, prevention, protection, cleaning and nutritious food. These are all important for eye care. First thing is prevention. We have to prevent the things which cause damage to your eyes. Say, don't go to a dusty area or a place where your eyes may get hurt or irritated. So avoid that. Avoid bright light falling into your eyes, right? So the bright light may damage. Prevention. So these are all comes under prevention. So when you wanted to read something, let us see you have proper light. Don't read in dim light. Don't read in bright light. Do not allow your friends to throw some laser lights into your eyes which may damage your eyes. So that is prevention. Protection. You can protect your eyes by wearing safety goggles. When you are driving, when you are visiting certain places, what I have told you earlier. So that is the protection of the eyes. Cleaning of eyes. Regularly clean your eyes with cold water. Do not rub your eyes. Something falls in your eyes, rinse your eyes under running tap water. And the last one, nutritious food. The food which is rich in vitamin A, good for eyes. So vitamin A, vitamin D is also good for your nervous system. So vitamin A rich foods are the raw carrots, broccoli, papaya, these are the foods which contain more amount of vitamin A. Vitamin A is, its scientific name is the retinol. It is very helpful for your rods and cones in the retina. It prepares certain pigments called rhodopsin and iodopsin. In making that pigments of your retina, this vitamin A is very important. So you need to take nutritious food for a good and a proper vision. So in all these, by following all these, you can take proper care of your eyes. Sometimes you see, even the proper care is taken, certain accidents may happen. So you have to avoid that also. Do not play with sharp objects, pointed objects. Sometimes you may make arrows and bows with sticks which are having pointed ends. So it is very dangerous. So these things may get poked into your eyes, which may damage the vision. Vision is very, very important. Once the vision is lost, your whole the world, you cannot see in a colorful world, it becomes dark. The pain, you can ask any blind person the pain they feel. They cannot see anything, they cannot enjoy. You can enjoy every color, every object around you. You can enjoy flowers, you can enjoy gardens, you can enjoy movies. So everything you can enjoy and see, but a blind person cannot see the world, right? So the persons who are visually challenged, that means they have vision problems. Many children, so after they take birth, slowly they become blind because of certain diseases. In some diseases, the side effects of the diseases leads to blindness. Some people by birth they are born blind. See their condition. They haven't seen anything in this world, but they are born into this world. Then how do they understand this world? Only by listening to the sounds and touching the objects. We have different senses. We have taste, we have sound hearing, we have vision seeing, and we have smelling, and these kind of senses. With all our 5 senses, we are enjoying the world, nature. But when there is no vision, how do they know about? So there are certain people, visually challenged people, who born in this planet, on this earth, but they were not got depressed by their physical challenge. So they rise to some prominent personalities in this world. Let us talk about such people, those who have visual impairment. Even then, they try to develop something which is helpful for the other visually impaired or visually defected people. So now let us see that the visually challenged people, those who have eye defects and eye problems by birth. But how these people, they learn about the world. So we are learning in the classrooms by listening to the lectures, by looking at the teacher, by looking at the board. We can understand, we can read the books, you can watch DVDs, CDs, many things. But what about the blind people? So the blind people, even they can learn about the world, which was made possible by certain visually challenged people. One of that person is Louis Braille. He developed a system that helps the blind people to learn, study. So the system, it was based on some embossed dots. So they used the tactile senses, touch sense, to study. So touching some surface which is having some dots, by touching the dots, understanding what letter it is. Each letter will have a specific pattern. In such a way, he designed a Braille system for the blind people and published it in 1821. That was a great work. So as he was a blind person, he wanted the other blind people to learn about the world. So he thought of developing a system for them, and he was successful. Such a great person who developed a system for the blind people. So the present system, later it has gone under so many changes or modifications. The present system was adopted in 1932. The present Braille system, it helped the people to study so many languages, common language, mathematics and science. Even so many Indian languages can be learned by this Braille system. The Braille system is totally based on patterns which are engraved or embossed on the surface. By touching these surfaces, these dots with fingers, they will identify. Basically, the patterns include letters, then words, word combinations. So they are given in different levels. They begin with letters, first understanding letter. Here I have written some pattern here. So here the pattern is having 2 columns, right? So you can see that here in two ways they are arranged here, dots and dashes. These are representing letters CAT, C-A-T. So this pattern represents C, this pattern represents A, this pattern represents T. The blind person, by touching this, first he or she feels that two dots C, one dot and other dashes A, T having four dots in this pattern, identifying that it is CAT. So in this way, the blind people are able to study. So this is one of the teaching aid or learning aid for the blind people. So there are so many aids, audio aids, tactile, sensory aids. This is a sensory aid for the learning. Audio aids are there, visual aids are there. So how can the visual aids help the blind people? Some people are not completely blind. They have some defects. So for them, their vision is corrected by some telescopic lenses, some kind of equipment which will allow the light to pass through their eyes and they can see the board. So such equipment, visual aids, people with problems in their vision. For the people, those who are completely blind, for them this kind of sensory aids, by touching, with the sense of touch they can learn. And some people, and some cases, they use audio aids, lessons are recorded. They will listen to the lesson, they will understand. So this is audio aids. Cassettes, nowadays CDs are available. There are so many computer softwares and programs are available. So if you open some kind of program in computer, nowadays in the latest operating systems of computers, you have voice option, text to voice option, voice assistant option. So in the computer, if you have installed a voice assistant, whatever you are doing in the computer, it will be read out by the voice. In the speakers you can listen. For example, you have closed the window, or you have kept the mouse pointer on the window closing button, then it will say close window. So it will assist you with audio. You can operate a computer. A blind person can operate a computer with the help of the audio feedback. So audio notes helps him to. And if he wanted to read a book, online book, e-book, the e-book, when he is moving the cursor, the thing he can hear, the computer will read for himself. And whatever he reads or he says, that will be typed, voice to text, text to voice, that kind of facility. So these kind of electronic equipment, electronic aids also help the blind people to learn, study about the world.